Ladies and gentlemen, the markets are exploding higher today, and we have big news. Guys, we talked about this in the video that came out last night. This was coming. Look, the breakout. I mean, it's about as beautiful as it could possibly be. This is the line we drew in the video last night. A textbook break above. And honestly, I think throughout this week, it could get even more aggressive to the upside. We could actually be approaching new all-time highs by the end of this week, in my view. And I will explain that in this video. There's one big catalyst, and it's coming on Friday, that I think is getting Wall Street kind of excited. Now, with that, we will also go over your Tesla stock breaking news, because Tesla stock is up over 3% today. Tesla's having a great day. And I will mention back above $350 per share. And really, from a technical perspective on Tesla, it looks beautiful as well. I mean, it's just the stair step. And now, well, you've kind of consolidated sideways for a bit, and we'll see if we can get that larger breakout before June 12th, or if that comes after June 12th's robotaxi launch. Okay, so it is confirmed that Donald Trump and President Xi will be speaking on Friday. Now, this article says the president is obsessed. Trump fixates on Xi call amid faltering trade talks. And let me just share this with you. The person familiar with trade talks, who is granted anonymity to speak candidly about their private conversations, said the administration is under, quote, a lot of pressure because of China's block on critical minerals, crucial components for everything from auto and electronics manufacturing to munitions production. Quote, I don't think Xi is too interested in exporting any more rare earths or magnets to the United States. He's made his position clear. The person added, though they predicted there's a good likelihood Xi would take the call to at least hear Trump out. Quote, the president has some leverage, and the question is when he's ready to impose maximum pressure on the Chinese government. A former Trump official close to the White House granted anonymity to discuss the president's strategy said, quote, Trump feels like a call between principles is a way to cut through a lot of the noise and get right to the heart of the matter. So, you know, what I get out of this, and generally from Wall Street, is nobody's expecting a ton of progress on this call with Trump and China, but we think there could be positive developments. Now, I personally think we could get a lot of positive developments on this call between Trump and China. And I think that's partially why markets are moving higher today. We could get closer to the end of a trade deal. Now, I'll tell you right now, if China agrees to lift the ban on critical minerals exports, the United States is going to have to lift the ban on NVIDIA exports to China, right? Or imports to China. China's going to be able to get NVIDIA chips. That's going to be big for the AI sector of this market. That, to me, seems like the only logical workaround to this. Like, you give us rare earths, we give you semiconductors. Seems like a win-win to me. So that is one of the big catalysts today, but we also did get some good earnings from Dollar General and some really good economic data this morning, which, as I've said before, this market is way too petrified of a potential slowdown in the economy. The fact of the matter is, I don't think we're going to see that slowdown. I don't think we're going to see inflation. I think it's going to be a lot better than people think. And that's why I believe the markets are going to rally 20% into year end. And some other stocks could rally 50+% or more. Now, this is the main headline on CNBC. It says job openings showed surprising increase to 7.4 million in April. The ratio of available jobs to unemployed workers was down to 1.03 to 1 for the month, close to the March level. Why is this important? Okay, it's simple. If companies are looking to hire, that is a good sign for the economy. Okay, if companies are firing people and the labor market's weakening, they're not going to be looking to hire people, like hundreds of thousands of workers, okay? Which is a rise of 191,000 job openings just from the month, okay? That's a good sign that the labor market is holding up. Now, we do have the non-farm payroll report on Friday. That's going to be very big, but you know, this is probably one reason why markets are moving higher today. This says, quote, "The labor market is returning to more normal levels despite the uncertainty within the macro outlook," wrote Jeffrey Roach, chief economist at LPL Research. Quote, "Underlying patterns in hiring and firing suggest the labor market is holding steady." Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic said today, quote, "For many sectors, I'm not hearing that the labor markets are changing in material ways." He says, "At the macro level, I haven't gotten sort of a strong overarching picture or impression that things are moving in a significant way. And we'll just have to see if that stays or whether something changes." And that is part of the reason you have the Russell 2000 that is up 1.5%, by far the best performing index, where the Dow is only up 0.4%. The Dow tends to be more of that recession trade. The Russell 2000 tends to be more of that risk on trade, with the NASDAQ and S&P somewhere in the middle. S&P is up 0.65% and the NASDAQ up 1%. So definitely getting more of a risk on reaction in markets today. And well, don't be surprised. We talk about this all the time on the channel. You're going to get a 20% rally into year end, in my opinion, and it's going to be risk on. It's going to be AI stocks. It's going to be tech. It's going to be some of the names that have been counted out this year that have been beaten down. Just expect that. If you expect that. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. We could crash another 20% from here. Who knows? But all the signs are leading towards a very aggressive rally over the next 6 months. Now, Dollar General also is helping markets to rally today. It says Dollar General is shaking off tariff fears and winning over higher income consumers. Dollar General raised its full year forecast after beating first quarter expectations for earnings and revenue. CEO Todd Vaso said the company is working to reduce its exposure to China and minimize price increases for customers. He added that the retailer is attracting more middle and upper income customers seeking value. Now, Dollar General is up 14% today. Now, in an interview back in a year ago, Dollar General says, quote, 60% of sales from Dollar General come from households with an average income of less than $30,000. That's like, there is no other company essentially that is a better barometer of the lower income consumer than Dollar General. I think Dollar General like actually chooses like to put stores in the lowest income areas of America. Like that had to have been a strategy at some point for Dollar General. Had to be. Okay. Whether that's right or wrong, who knows? But it's a sign that even the lowest income consumers that have been in a 3.5-year long recession right now are at least holding up. And that is a good sign. Now, earnings per share came in a lot better than expected at $1.78 versus $1.48, and revenue came in at $10.44 billion versus the estimated $10.31 billion. So some of the numbers, even like the guidance raise, wasn't that impressive. Their prior range was $5.10 to $5.80. They raised the low end to $5.20, kept the high end at $5.80. And they say that same store sales will increase 1.5% to 2.5%. Their previous guidance was 1.2% to 2.2%. So, you know, it's not like a huge guidance raise or anything like that. But Dollar General has been such a beaten down stock over the past couple of years. Just to get some recovery in the consumer, well, is enough to send the stock up 14%. And have this actually be a positive catalyst for the broader markets. We talked about this over the last couple of days, but, retail companies reporting good earnings is going to be positive for the broader markets, and that's part of what you are seeing today. Now, with that said, we do still have quite a bit of earnings as well to go this week. You have CrowdStrike and Hewlett Packard Enterprise today in after hours. Wednesday pre-market, Dollar Tree. Wednesday and after hours, MongoDB, PVH, Five Below. Thursday, Sienna and Cracker Barrel. And then Thursday and after hours, Broadcom, DocuSign, Lululemon, Samsara, and some others. Now, getting into some more of your broader market news today, UK's Prime Minister spokesperson Paris says business secretary is set to discuss a tariff deal with US Trade Representative Greer. China is welcoming Japanese and other foreign companies into the country. 73% of Americans said they were doing okay or comfortable financially, little changed from 2023 per the Fed. Senate Republicans are holding a gathering on reconciliation plans for all GOP senators on Wednesday afternoon, according to multiple sources cited by Punchbowl reporters on X. Fed Bostic says, I am in no hurry to adjust our policy stance. Now, U.S. factory orders month over month came in at negative 3.7%. The forecast was negative 3.2%. The prior month was 4.3%. This was an upward revision from 3.4%. So when you factor in that upwards revision, it kind of meets expectations. And durable goods orders revised numbers came in at negative 6.3%, in line with the forecast of 6.3% and the previous month of negative 6.3%. So that was also in line with expectations. Bostic says he is very cautious about jumping to cutting rates. And he says recession is not in his forecast as of right now. Fed Bostic still sees a possible path to one interest rate cut this year, depending on the economy. Now, just to jump back to Dollar General's earnings call, Walmart has said something similar to this, but quote, while the tariff landscape remains dynamic and uncertain, we expect tariffs to result in some price increases as a last resort, though we intend to work to minimize them as much as possible. The fact of the matter is, companies cannot just start raising prices back to back and, screwing consumers, or they will kill demand. You can only raise prices to the extent that you don't destroy demand. And I don't think consumers are going to stand for price increases. Okay? And especially when Trump's going to come out and say, hey, Dollar General or Walmart or the XYZ company, stop raising prices because of tariffs, and 50% of Americans are not going to like that. That's not a great look for any company to be passing on costs to consumers, especially if you're called out for it. Hence, another reason why I think we're going to get very little as far as inflation pressures, which is actually going to allow the Fed to cut rates a lot more than one time this year. And especially in 2026, you're going to see a lot of cuts, in my opinion. Fed Bostic says, I'm not declaring victory on inflation yet, and that he needs to see more progress on lowering inflation before supporting a rate cut. The fact of the matter is, the last 3 months, we really haven't seen any inflation. Your PCE and really CPI reports have been close to 0% for the last 2 or 3 months now. Most Fed officials believe that the next inflation report is going to start to show some tariff pressures on inflation. But if we don't see that in the next 1 or 2 reports, the odds of cuts by the end of this year is going to really start to skyrocket. Brazil's trade minister says, we have been seeking to negotiate tariffs with the U.S. government. If there is no agreement on tariffs, we could seek the WTO, World Trade Organization, or take measures of reciprocity. Now, China's top diplomat meets the U.S. ambassador to China and hopes the latter promotes healthy, steady, sustainable bilateral ties. China's foreign minister says that China and U.S. relations are at a critical juncture. China's foreign minister says after the Geneva talks, China has consciously and strictly implemented the consensus. China's foreign minister also says regrettable that the U.S. has recently introduced a series of negative measures. And he says the U.S. should create necessary conditions for bilateral relations to go back to the right track. And he says equal respect is the prerequisite to China-U.S. relations. Again, that's why I think this China-Trump Xi Trump call is going to be so big, because I do think they respect each other. I do think we're going to get good news coming out of that on Friday. And Wall Street's going to be shocked, caught off guards. And, well, I think that means stocks are going to go higher. Now, Besant says that Trump aims to make the U.S. a hub for digital innovation. U.S. Treasury Secretary Besant says China has a choice here on being a reliable partner or not. And Besant reiterates that China must become more consumption focused. So instead of exporting a ton, to be more consumption focused, where the U.S. could, send some crap to China and China buys it, right? That would be huge for America's growth. If China's consumer was like America's, with 4 times the population of America, 5 times almost, yeah, holy schmoly, that would be big. And the U.S. ambassador to China discussed fentanyl and trade with the Chinese foreign minister. Now, in the news today for Tesla, Tesla has just built its 1 millionth Powerwall at Giga, Nevada. In a new note released today, Morgan Stanley's Adam Jonas predicts that the physical work conducted by 1 billion humanoid robots, excluding training, may require 4,000 terawatt hours of incremental annual electricity demand, roughly equal to 1 full U.S. electric grid. So basically, we would have to double the entire electrical grid. Imagine the kind of demand we're going to see for Tesla's energy products. It's going to be like exceptional, beyond your wildest imaginations over the next 20 years. Again, not something a lot of people talk about. I mean, even here on this channel, like, we focus on Robotaxi and Optimus a lot, but that energy side of Tesla's business could be a real big winner as well over the next 10, 20 years and add trillions of dollars in value to Tesla stock. Elon Musk reposted this from Tesla Economics that says, just FYI, Tesla is just getting started. You can see here, June 2025, we are here, FSD and Robotaxi. The next big wave of growth, which is energy, and then AI robots. Elon Musk supports that, that idea. And Tesla bounces back with the highest Australian sales in nearly 12 months, recording close to 4,000 handovers in May. Tesla has filed a new trademark application for the wordmark Tesla Robotaxi after the USPTO refused the company's other trademark application for wordmark Robotaxi. The term Tesla Robotaxi isn't generic like Robotaxi, so this one should get approved. Tesla has a booth with the Cybercab at the AI Expo in Washington, D.C., June 2nd through June 4th. And Tesla Australia has announced free FSD and enhanced autopilot transfers for Model 3 and Model Y if buyers take delivery of a new Tesla by June 30th. Tesla's Model 3 and Model Y entered the list of 124 electric vehicle and hybrid models in a Chinese government-backed campaign to promote sales in rural areas, the industry ministry statement on Tuesday said. Piper Sandler analyst Alex Potter in a new Tesla note today says, quote, Tesla is the only car company that is trying to source batteries at scale without relying on China. Eventually, Tesla will be making its own cathode active materials, refining its own lithium, building its own anodes, coating its own electrodes, assembling its own cells, and selling its own cars. No other U.S. company can make similar claims. Elon Musk also comments on this and says, it is important, albeit extremely hard work, to localize supply chains to mitigate geopolitical risk. Now, here on the day today, Tesla stock is up about 3.5%, sitting at $354 per share. Option activity from hedge funds and institutions coming in a little on the slow side today. 86 different trades totaling $27.3 million with a positive order value of 50%. You do have about 250,000 shares today that are being covered on, so that is definitely adding to some of the upward pressure on Tesla. You do have 3.04% short interest of free float, $29.23 billion sold short in Tesla, totaling 85.29 million shares. And we'll talk about this more in the next video, but I do think this week could get pretty explosive for Tesla stock. And I think we could be, entering into the high 300s, like a new range we have not been in since February here very soon. So let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. Ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.